Hello and welcome to the Bill and Kelly Show. With us today we have Lori Utesch, who is going to be talking about her project WETOO. And welcome to our show, Lori.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And Kali Rasala, welcome back to our show.
Yes, shut up.
Okay, well, we've had some technical problems this morning, so I apologize for the late start. But, ladies, I'm going to let you take over the show, and I'm just going to sit back and be a casual observer, if you don't
Well,
mind.
that sounds lovely.
Sounds good to
Well,
me.
again, I am going to introduce the beautiful, the Italian, the absolutely brilliant Lori Utesch, who is also my sister from another mister, and the person who is responsible for WETOO, Journeys of Resilience. And to kind of preface all that, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so those two combined go perfectly together. And that's why Lori is here to talk to us about the WETOO Journeys of Resilience and about Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Thank you for that lovely biased introduction.
It is not biased. It is all true.
So yeah, very appropriate that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Last year at this time is when we started and created the whole WETOO Journeys of Resilience project, which is a forum or a platform, if you will, for survivors of sexual assault to tell their stories, to share their stories for the first time, for the 100th time, in a very comfortable, very safe, very non-judgmental environment. We're trying to educate the community. We're trying to make survivors feel safe enough to come out with their stories and to let people know what happened, as a way of not only gaining support for themselves, but to let other survivors know who might still be afraid, to talk about what happened to them, to talk about their assaults, and to let them know that they're not alone, even in the slightest. There are thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of survivors out there, most of whom have not talked, and the majority of cases go unreported, and that's not okay. It's not okay. So we started this as a way for to bring attention to it. We call it WETOO because, and I'll be 100% honest, the Me Too movement is incredibly inspiring. It's a wake-up call. It's all things beautiful, except for the fact that it focuses, or it tends to focus, mostly on celebrities, and everybody in that celebrity circle, and we don't have the PR power that they have. The person who assaulted me 30 years ago, his face is not splashed across the TV. His trial is not on the news every night. He had no trial at all. He was never convicted. I never reported it, out of fear for judgment, out of fear of being blamed, out of fear of so many different things, being 16 years old when it happened. So we're trying to create a different path for survivors. So that's where we are. So this is a perfect month to talk about it, and a perfect time, with the quarantine, with COVID-19. That was one of my first thoughts when I heard that we were on, this quote unquote lockdown, is that when we think about domestic violence, yes, we think about abuse, physical abuse, verbal, emotional, but part of domestic violence is domestic rape. And there are wives out there that are being raped on a daily basis by their husbands, and being abused on a daily basis by their husbands. And there are also husbands that are being abused by their wives on a daily basis. And so when you put a situation in place like this, or an order in place like this, where they literally have no out.
And then you add the stress and everything else of what's going on, and that makes the abuser that much more angry, that much more physical.
Yes. It erupts. And so already a stressful situation inside the house, behind closed doors, already a very high stress, very high tension situation, with abuse that was already happening. Now you add the loss of job, the loss of finances, the loss of freedom to move about, The laws, I can't go outside my house. I have no family to turn to. I can't go hang out with my friends. There's no outlet. Our outlets have disappeared.
Right.
And so that's just for the abuser, and so for the victim, our support systems have disappeared, because with that elevated tension, and that elevated stress, the survivor or the victim has no time alone to possibly even make a phone call,
Right.
to possibly reach out. So there's this constant togetherness that is not a welcome togetherness in a situation like this. So they have no safe space at all. And so I'm really not looking forward to the statistics that come out once this is over, to see just how increased the statistics have gone up with domestic violence and sexual assault.
I totally agree. That was one of the things that you and I were talking about a couple weeks ago when this all started, is how scary that thought is.
Yeah. It hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
It hit me like a ton of bricks, because I'm somebody who's 30 years past my assault, but I'm not 30 years past my triggers. So even for somebody like me, who it happened when I was a kid, it's not happening to me now. It's not something that's very present in my life. So I can't even fathom what they're going through. I can't even, I can kind of imagine, I can kind of conjure up the fear, but not even close. Not even close. Not a single one of us, even though we've all been in similar situations, not a single one of us can fathom what that pain must be like, what that fear must be like, what everybody is different, and what they're experiencing. And so I keep my focus on when this is over, because it has to end. It has to end. Please, sometime it has to end. I'm trying to keep hope, that this will be over, and that they'll have somewhere to go, and they'll have people to turn to, and they'll have a whole new support system they never knew they had.
Right.
So right now we have our WETOO Journeys of Resilience Facebook page. My team has been putting videos up, and posting different messages, and posting different grounding techniques, and posting different things about, like, we're here for you, we're supporting you. And so we're trying to really get that out there, and let people know that, there's nothing we can do right now. There's nothing we can do except for be a presence on our side of the screen.
Right. And so to be there to let them know that when this is all over, there is some place to turn.
Absolutely. So from a distance, we're doing the best we can. And it's so frustrating, and it's heart-wrenching. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't, what else can I be doing? What else can I be doing? And so that's our process right now. I've been trying to get my team to go on Facebook, and a couple of us have done videos already introducing ourselves and letting everyone know, we're real people. We're not any different from anybody else in the community. We're real people. We're educated in the field of mental health, and we're getting more educated on trauma. Being a survivor myself, I'm an expert on my own trauma, but I'm educating myself on everybody else's trauma. And that's really important for me, going into the mental health counseling field. So we're getting there. So we have so much support behind us, and we have so much encouragement and so much empowerment. So we're going to keep going. And we're going to try and reach everybody we possibly can.
Right. Well, Lori, if I could just ask one question. So, because you alluded to, with us being stay at home and the loss of job, the stress that everyone is under, we could be looking at escalated numbers of domestic violence. And so that is really a sad and scary thought. And the fact that a lot of resources that are normally available to these people because of the epidemic that's going on are now somewhat restricted interacting with people. So, I don't know if you know what that looks like, the caring place, and here it's the Haven House, is it, or the center,
St. Jude
and
House,
St.
all
Jude,
those.
and all those. In
They're
fact,
here.
we've reached out to some of those to ask them to come on. But do you know what it looks like now? I mean, what can a person do?
Um, so right now, all of the counseling centers, so all of our, I'm a student in a master's program for clinical mental health counseling. So I'm in my practicum stage, which is one step before my internship. So all of our practicum students, all of our internship students have our different sites, our different counseling centers that we intern at. And of course, we've had to revert to resort to teletherapy. So we're doing virtual counseling. What it looks like for people who are in the midst of an abusive relationship and working their way of, getting out of it, or are still working through a past trauma, it's it's a little bit of a different situation, especially if they're still in a household where they're being abused. So we have a lot of clients who go to therapy and their spouses or their significant others, their partners, have no idea that they go. That's one of their quote unquote secrets. So that's something that they keep to themselves because that's part of their safety plan. That's part of their I'm working on getting away. So if they're in a house with this person still and they have to do teletherapy, that's not a possibility. There's no way that they can let that secret go. So their counseling stops. For people who are working through it, they can still do teletherapy. A lot of counselors I know are doing free teletherapy just, to be of help, to be of service, because we're in crisis mode. And so it's basically just a matter of finding out who's doing that. I don't know. I haven't, a lot of our resources, I'm actually working on right now trying to find out which of our internship sites will do that for people. And so I can get a list together and you guys can post it on your page.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And put that out there, and I'm going to post it on our WETOO page once I get a hold of that information and see who's willing to do it, or who's in the process of doing it. And just, so that's what it looks like. Unfortunately, what's going to happen as well is there's going to be a rise in domestic deaths because of this. I shared an article, or I shared a screenshot of an article with Kali this morning, where people are starting the weapons that have been sold out, and the ammunition that have been sold out at stores since this whole thing started are starting to be used. So there was a man in Valparaiso that was arrested for shooting at somebody, and had no remorse for it whatsoever. And I knew that was coming. We knew that was going to be a thing, and that's going to start happening more and more and more until we get out of this thing. It's morbid and it's dreadful and it's scary, but it's the truth of the matter. When somebody owns a weapon, there's a risk of that, no matter what. And I'm not against people owning weapons. I know what people's rights are, and this is not what this conversation is about. But when there's already an abusive situation in place and people have been pushed to the limit, that's what happens. And so
it's an already volatile situation, and just add the stress of everything else going on, and it's not a very good outcome a lot of times.
Exactly. It's the outcome that everybody fears.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the outcome that everybody fears. Counselors, case managers, case workers. This is the outcome that everyone dreads, whether it be, us sexual assault survivors or domestic assault survivors, any kind of trauma survivor. And then we have children who are in their homes, who can't go to school right now, who going to school was their only reprieve from an abusive situation.
Now they're stuck in the middle of it.
And they're stuck. And they're stuck. And so their teachers and their friends at school and other school administrators, principals, and those people are the only ones that they have to turn to every day that are supportive of them, that are kind to them, that, where they go and they get food, and they're learning and they're using their brains, and and everything is working in their favor. But now they're at home with potentially abusive parents or siblings, and they have no escape. So we're looking at some pretty traumatic numbers coming out once this is all said and done.
Yeah, sad numbers. Yeah, one thing, because I know you're trying to take the next step up, and I'm going to turn it back to you
Mm-hmm.
guys. But I just wanted to get one thing out. One is just to some people that may be listening that have never knew about WE2 before. Do you want to explain the program that you put on the last year that Kelly was
Sure.
involved with, and explain what your plans are for the future of WE2?
Yeah. Um, Callie knows that there's nothing I love to talk about more, so I'm
It was, I
I
tell you,
will
it was a
right now.
breathtaking program. I mean, if you were not impacted sitting in the audience, you were either dead or something. It was shivering, and
Yeah,
emotional.
it was more than we had ever imagined. Um, I know that when the idea came up, and it was kind of funny because I was on a date night with my husband when it came up, and I kind of just rattled on and on and on for about an hour at dinner, and just trying to work it all out in my head, what it was going to look like and what it was going to sound like. And I knew that I was excited, but given the subject matter, being excited about a topic like that is not very common. So,
Right. We've got about 8 minutes left, though. Just
okay, so what it ended up looking like was we had 10 sexual assault survivors, including myself, who went to Chicago Street Theater. Chicago Street Theater was our venue. They were kind enough to let us use their amazing theater, and also their amazing community theater actors, to put on an event that people are still, to this day, it happened on November 2nd, 2019, and I am still getting comments, people still talking about it, which is the biggest compliment. And so each one of us took our turn and went out on stage and told our story. And for survivors that wish to remain anonymous, the Chicago Street Theater actors stepped up and told their stories for them. And it was incredibly moving. We also added in what were at the time the current sexual assault statistics concerning women, concerning men, concerning children, concerning people with disabilities, everybody, where sexual assault happens, when it happens, how often it happens. And I mean, just we covered every bit of information.
Uh-oh.
I lost you for a second.
Yeah, there you go.
That
Yeah.
we thought people would need, to really kind of grasp the reality of it. And then with each individual telling their stories themselves, there's nothing more impactful, of seeing the fear, of sensing the tension, of there's just nothing like it, of somebody who's been through it and somebody who has suffered that kind of trauma telling their own story. We also talked about the PTSD symptoms, and there's 27 different symptoms that we represented that night. And when you think of an adult carrying around 27 different symptoms of PTSD, it's one thing, but the youngest survivor that we had that night, whose story was told, I mean, she's, in her 40s now, but she was 5 when it happened. So you think about a 5-year-old who is suffering from dissociation and nightmares and anxiety and depression and all of these different things, 27 different symptoms of PTSD for 30-something years.
And we've just just not to stop you, we do have to hurry up just along. If you two want to talk about what is the plan for the future of WE2? I know you've got some huge plans, which
I do.
It sound very exciting, and they involve the lovely Kali Rasala, may I add.
Yes.
How can you not bring Kelly along, right?
Well, Callie, as my sister from another mister, has agreed to go wherever I go.
Absolutely.
Whether she knew it or not, we do everything. We do everything together, and we support each other in every single thing that we do. And so recently, I just purchased the domain for WeToo Journeys of Resilience. So we own that name, at least now. And so what's happening now is we're going to build a website off of that and turn it into a nonprofit. beginning stages with it. By this time next year, I hope to have it nationwide, nonprofit, 5-year plan, international. And so we're in the stages right now of surveying survivors, and just trying to figure out what it is they would want to see on the website. We're creating that website. What is it? So if you were to log onto this website, what is it that you're looking for? Because usually when survivors are kind of, punching stuff into the search bar, they're looking for something specific.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to know what they're looking for, what they need, and we want to be able to make sure that we can provide that. I do know that the website is going to have a place where they can post their story. If they want to share their name, they can, but if they want to post their story anonymously, they're going to have that ability on this website. Just not even solely for the sake of getting it out, but or for sharing it with each other, but for just getting it out of their system. Because writing it or typing it or whatever is so powerful and impactful for the survivor themselves. So just being able to put it down somewhere and get it off their chest is incredibly impactful. So I want to create that opportunity for them. So that's where we're starting now. Kali is coming on as my vice president. And so we eventually, our ultimate dream, I think, Cal, is to travel around and take it with us.
Absolutely.
And different speaking engagements and be at different conferences and be able to educate and be able to connect. That's our ultimate dream. So
is that when you travel, do you envision doing like a mini thing that you did back in November, or is it?
That would be the ultimate dream.
Yeah.
That would be the ultimate dream.
Yeah, because that was, oh my gosh, that I was like, and and you did mention for those who didn't feel comfortable coming forward, they got actors. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I came up to one of them afterwards and I said, man, I'm so sorry for what you went through. And he goes, well, I wasn't the person that went through it. And that's how well it was done. That I'm serious. I think they felt the weight.
I had a lot of messages about him afterwards from people saying how worried they were about him. And I said, well, I did pass along the messages to the actual survivor. So, and I had to reassure people that it was not his story, but we were in contact with the person whose story it was, and that he's okay. And that he's, he is in a good place in his life, and he's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, I'm sure you guys remember that. I apologize if the dogs are barking next door.
I was going to say, is that my fluffy nephew?
Yeah, I'm going to have to.
Yeah, we got about 2 minutes, though, so
I have to get away.
That's all right.
But I'm sure you guys remember that you were both present there, of course, because Kali actually had a part in the event.
Mm-hmm.
The lobby of the theater afterwards was, you couldn't move.
Yeah, it was a packed event. It was sold out.
It was a packed house, and I couldn't move. I tried to open the door from downstairs and couldn't. I couldn't get into the lobby.
And for those of you who know Chicago Street Theater, that is not a small theater. It's a pretty big theater. It's one of the larger ones. So
packed house.
Yeah.
And so I think this year we're going to have even more. My dream, I don't want to discount how grateful we are and how much gratitude we have for Chicago Street Theater, but I would love to outgrow the venue. I would love to have so many people wanting to come and participate that we need a bigger place.
With that, with that, we got to say our goodbyes. Thanks to the Zoom gods out there. Yes, we're going to have you back on shortly because we need to continue this. And so, listen, Lori, thank you so much for coming on to tell us about this. And I tell you, it was impactful. And to the guy out there that was acting, he had the weight of that person he was representing on his shoulders, and so that was huge.
Job he did. What a beautiful job.
Yes, he did. With that,
thank you guys so much for letting me talk. I'm so passionate about this topic, and I just appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
With that, we're going to say goodbye for now. Thank you, Lori. Thank you for everything you do. We appreciate it. Goodbye for now, everybody. Have a safe and great day.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
This episode of The Bill and Kali Show is brought to you by For over 28 years, Creative Carpet and Flooring has provided not only one of the largest selections of carpet and flooring in the area, but also customer service that exceeds expectations. Featuring leading brands like Mohawk, Stanton, and Shaw, their friendly and knowledgeable staff is there to help you choose the products that are right for you and are available to help answer any questions along the way. Once you become a client, you'll get newsletters recognizing new customers, offering contests, sales, and special thank you incentives for referrals. Creative Carpet and Flooring, with locations in Mokina, Illinois and Highland, Indiana. A family-owned business providing great products and service to families like yours.